Chapter
NK
141, Wild Herb Salad. As So Phong was about to pass, the young girl glared and tilted her chin toward the water pot. Fine, I will wash my hands. So Phong rolled his eyes, scooped some water, and washed his hands. They sat down, a steaming bowl of venison stew with wild herbs before them, only a few pieces of meat but plenty of herbs. The meat is a bit little. So Phong muttered, yet the girl heard him. Yesterday we ate richly, today is simpler. Van Han replied softly. Indeed, yesterday they had a feast, all the liver and meat were finished, and even breakfast was good. All right then. So Phong shrugged. So Phong, would you like to taste the wild berry sauce? Van Han asked gently. Sure. So Phong nodded. Van Han took a bamboo bowl and spoon, scooped 2 ladles of berry sauce from the clay jar. She licked the spoon clean and said, "The flavor is a little sour, a little salty, and a bit sweet." Then I want to try. So Phong picked a piece of venison, dipped it in berry sauce, and chewed. Shall we mix some raw herbs to try? Van Han asked. All right. So Phong agreed, seeing she wanted it. Van Han rose, gathered tender raw leaves, placed them in a clay plate, added berry sauce, and mixed, making a wild herb salad. She looked at So Phong and urged, "Quick, taste it." Smack, smack. He chewed, eyes brightening. The herbs were slightly bitter, but with berry sauce very tasty. Most of all, the feeling of raw herbs was delightful. How is it? Van Han asked softly. Delicious, you try too. So Phong praised. Van Han ate a chopstick of herbs. The more she chewed the better, smiling. The wild herb salad is very good, we can often make it. The audience was envious. I crave wild herbs, here 1 kilo costs over 10 coins, outrageous. They look like eating salad. That big jar of berry sauce is enviable. Since when do weeds become so wanted? At the supermarket a kilo is 12 coins. They soon finished dinner, then came the important task, making a shirt for So Phong. Van Han tied marks at collar, sleeves, hem, then took a chopping knife to work. At cuts she sewed in S shape to keep fibers from fraying. The banana fiber cloth was soft, not as fine as usual fabric, but already very good in the wild. After more than 2 hours she finished the shoulder and back. She turned and called, "Come, try it." Here. So Phong put down the basket, came to take the shirt. The hem is a bit short, the collar needs a rope to tighten. Van Han observed. Otherwise she was very pleased, especially with thickness, thinking thicker meant warmer. How is it, warm? She asked. He felt much warmer, no skin left bare in cold wind. Banana bark is little, otherwise we would make another set, no need jackets or thick pants. Van Han sighed. In a few days I will strip more banana bark. So Phong nodded. That is good. Van Han smiled. Let us sleep. So Phong saw her tired. No washing? Van Han asked. No need, no sweat today. So Phong shook his head. In the wild, bathing daily is not needed, only staying dry 1 or 2 days without bathing is fine. Then I will brush first. Van Han smiled brightly, stepping to the handmade toothbrush. Let us go. So Phong stretched and went to brush, planning to sleep early. Chapter 142, Becoming a Hired Hand? They wanted to meet Tran Chi Hai and Black Bear to discuss cooperation. Let's go, we cannot lower our posture too much. Zhao Lei reminded his brother. I know. Zhao Lei sighed helplessly, since morning he had heard this warning many times. He understood his younger brother well, usually clever and charming but too soft, not strong-willed. Understood. Zhao Lei's expression turned serious, but inside he thought otherwise. Whoever wants to lead must rely on skill, those without ability can only depend on others. When we arrive, we must put on stern faces, act like we are not easy to deal with. Zhao Lei taught his brother. He explained seriously, frown your brows, pull your face down, purse your lips. Cough. Zhao Lei had no choice but to follow, otherwise his brother would complain of lack of cooperation. The audience found it amusing. Haha, Zhao Lei is too funny, is he going to fight? Are we watching a comedy show, such expressions? This is the second group seeking cooperation. Did the program team deliberately place groups so close? I sense more excitement ahead, will it turn into a food fight? After half an hour, Zhao Lei and Zhao Lei walked with stern faces to Tran Shihai's camp. Crack crack, the two there were finishing their shelter. They used 4 logs as pillars, laid others horizontally, building wooden walls. It was large work, luckily Tran Shihai had an axe, cutting logs was not hard. Zhao Lei glared at his brother, why greet first, that was too passive. Good morning, why are you here? Tran Shihai raised brows with surprise. Zhao Lei froze, forcing a smile, we came to see if you need help. He realized his brother's intention, the other clearly wanted control. That is perfect, we still have a wall unfinished. Tran Shihai was not polite, immediately taking advantage. Cough. Zhao Lei coughed lightly, puzzled that his politeness was taken literally. Zhao Lei's face darkened, his brother too passive, like bargaining with a shopkeeper. What is it, brother, throat uncomfortable? Tran Shihai smiled. Yes, a bit. Zhao Lei stubbornly replied. Then take care, in the wild a sore throat can turn to infection. Tran Shihai feigned concern. Zhao Lei twitched, wondering if the other was clueless or pretending. Brother, let's go, do not disturb them. Zhao Lei turned to leave. Sorry, with sore throat I cannot help. Zhao Lei touched his neck. Ah, do not go, have you eaten breakfast? I have some food. Tran Shihai invited. Eat? The brothers paused, turned to see his smiling face. Eating could make them drop pride, as the saying goes, free food is never refused. No problem, join us for breakfast. Tran Shihai grinned, we found many palm hearts, not eating them would waste. Black Bear's mouth twitched, those palms were cut by him for days, now called waste. We can help you finish them. Zhao Lei smiled. Haha, come, sit on this log. Tran Shihai laughed meaningfully, told Black Bear, bring some palm hearts for the brothers to taste. All right. Black Bear fetched 5 or 6 palms. Ah, left too long, turned yellow. Tran Shihai regretted. Crack, Zhao Lei chewed loudly, then even criticized, a bit fibrous, not crisp. Yes, we have too many, who knows when we finish them. Tran Shihai smirked. No, we already cut the palms over there, so we came here. He covered. Really? Zhao Lei smiled, unconvinced. To avoid waste, help build our shelter, I give palms. Tran Shihai showed cunning. Receiving food means owing, simple logic. As a wealthy heir, educated and seasoned, manipulating the brothers was easy. How many palms will you give? Zhao Lei asked. 3 each. Tran Shihai answered with a grin. 5 each. Zhao Lei bargained. No, only 4, you already ate 1, 3 left. Tran Shihai replied calmly. 1 hour cutting palms, hiring them a day, huge profit. You. Zhao Lei opened mouth, unsure to refuse or accept. We accept. Zhao Lei cut in. Chapter 143, The Most Formidable Creature. The sun shone high, bathing the plants in warm light. Inside the hiding place, within the sleeping bag. No! Yunhan furrowed her brows, clutching her belly, curling into a ball, her face pale, sweat beading at her nose. She bit her lip, whispering in distress, why did it come today, the day is wrong. If menstrual cramps were divided into 4 levels, most girls were at the 3rd, the most painful one required medicine. The 3rd level was not dangerous, but still very uncomfortable. Yunhan held her belly, rubbing her head, glancing outside, just in time to see So Phong cooking breakfast. She had been lying in the sleeping bag for a while, pretending to sleep, but was awakened by the pain and kept her eyes shut. This secret matter, she would not tell even Phong, intending to deal with it herself later. Tay. She inhaled sharply as the pain returned in waves. People often said, the most formidable creature on earth was women, bleeding every month yet still full of life afterward. The days are messy, this is really troublesome. She bit her teeth, glancing at the wooden calendar, counting they had been in the wilderness for 13 days. In her heart she muttered, today is October 5th, 5 days earlier than expected. Coming 5 days early messed up all her plans, she had not even made sanitary cloth yet. What should I do? Her eyes were vacant, she felt this was the most embarrassing moment in her life, wishing to dig a hole to hide. The program crew was merciless, female challengers only got one extra undergarment, no supplies. Or, tell Phong? The thought flashed, but countless awkward scenes filled her mind. She quickly shook her head inside the sleeping bag, no, absolutely not, too embarrassing. She remembered an incident 2 years ago at school, she never wanted to relive it. That time, her period came early, staining her skirt, she hid in the bathroom, not knowing what to do. It got worse when Phong rushed in with a broom, barging into the girls' restroom, startling her classmates into screams. After that, rumors spread about him carrying her home. Now, she leaned nervously, afraid of staining the sleeping bag, uncomfortable. After finishing breakfast, Phong looked back, noticing the sleeping bag moving. He rolled his eyes, thinking she was lying idle again. Yun Han, breakfast. He called. The sleeping bag stayed still, like she had fallen asleep. Just like before. He smirked. Back then, whenever she had cramps, she lay still, saying it felt better, waiting for him to leave to tidy up. He gently tapped her head, whispering, I know you are awake, turn your face here. No. She pretended to wake, eyes half closed, cheeks flushed, brows still furrowed. That time of the month? He poked her cheek with his finger. She stayed silent, eyes evasive. Silent, so I guessed right. He sighed. I can handle it myself. She stammered. When did it start? He asked softly. I realized this morning. Her voice was weak. Why not tell me? He scolded gently. It is not a big deal. She whispered, used to it. She never acted spoiled, just dealt with it and carried on. Not a big deal, but not small either. He poked her cheek again, whispering, in the wild, it becomes serious, did it stain? Ah, do not ask. She groaned shyly. Where is the sanitary cloth, where did you put it? He asked softly. That, She stammered, ears red. You did not make it? He asked in shock. I thought I had a few more days. She muttered. AI. He sighed helplessly, I warned you, new environment or stress can make it early. Before, when she moved from the orphanage to a rented room, it had also come early, she had to wash all the bedding. I forgot. She recalled, it was he who had checked online and told her. That day, she was embarrassed all day. Chapter 144, What do you want to do? NK Could it be that she caught a cold from yesterday's rain? That is possible, we are already wearing fur coats here. The little lowly wants to be lazy today. Do not be too harsh, let her sleep a bit longer, it is fine. No, listen to Phong, it seems she has a relative visiting. Oh no, in the wild at this time of month, what should we do? The live audience quickly defended the girl. After 10 days of wilderness survival, Van Han gained many loyal fans. They all shouted, no lowly, no marriage. No. Van Han moved her head slightly, feeling embarrassed. I will make you some hot wild berry water. Phong stood up, walked to the fire, frowned in thought, and muttered, if only there was honey. He poured fish soup into a clay pot, added some water, 2 spoons of berry sauce, and a few mint leaves. What to do if it leaks out? He stirred the fire with a stick. There was no paper in the wild, and even homemade paper was not clean. This problem must be solved. The whole year has 12 months, each with several days. It could not be ignored. Now we need to solve two problems. One is the blood itself, the other is the leakage. So Phong muttered. Menstruation is a very real issue, there is no avoiding it. The boiling water brought him back. He poured berry drink into a clay cup. He carried it to the girl and said, "Drink some hot water, your stomach will feel better." But Van Han's face flushed red, stammering. The sleeping bag has been used long, it should be washed and dried under the sun, it will dry quickly. He avoided mentioning the blood. He wanted to ease her embarrassment, no need to explain too much, everyone has awkward times. MHM. She nodded, took the cup, and drank. The warm water soothed her stomach. "I will make you some cloth pads," he said softly. PFF. She spat water in shock. "What? I used to buy pads for you, now I sew some cloth and you are surprised?" He rolled his eyes. "No, I can handle it, you go do your work." She shook her head quickly. "You are in pain, even your brows are furrowed, and still pretending to be fine?" He touched her forehead gently. "The first day of menstruation is always the most painful." "No, it is just hot water." She widened her eyes, forcing a smile. "You look like the word distressed." He teased. "What nonsense, you talk too much." She pouted. "All right, I will sew some cloth pads for you, wait a bit." He took out a bamboo tube with needles and fabric. "Actually." She tried to stop him. "It is fine, I know how." He interrupted, grabbed the cloth, and worked by the fire. He had studied the structure of pads, the absorbent layer was the hardest to imitate. If only 2 layers of cloth, it would not work. How to solve this? He tilted his head, thinking. "So Phong, just cut some cloth and it will be enough," she said shyly. "That will not work." He turned back, saw her holding her stomach, and suddenly had an idea. "What is it?" She touched her face in confusion. "I have a solution." He smiled, took the axe, and walked away. "So Phong, what are you going to do?" she asked nervously. "Find the answer," he replied, then squatted near the sleeping bag. Under her shocked gaze, he cut a corner of the bag. "Use the cotton as absorbent, that will work," he said firmly. "Oh my." She was stunned, then scolded, "You cannot destroy the sleeping bag, it is our bed, what if it is ruined?" He grabbed a handful of cotton and returned to the fire. "Really, not listening to me?" She pouted, then smiled softly, her pain eased. She laughed quietly, while he focused, cutting several pieces of cloth. He planned to sew 2 pieces together with cotton inside, making a simple pad. "This stitching is tricky," he muttered, clumsily sewing. After sewing, he flipped it inside out, hiding the seams. Chapter 145, Fierce Declaration. Without realizing it, so Phong and Van Han had risen to the top, the viewers exceeded 20 million, the gifts reached over 5 million yuan, making their live stream the most rewarded among the 81 remaining. Wow! So Phong is amazing, he even made a cloth sanitary pad for Van Han. No Tin Noyet said with a clear voice. Her bright eyes sparkled strangely, watching the screen where So Phong awkwardly stitched the cloth, a scene that struck many female students deeply. Whether or not a boy is skillful, as long as he helps with sincerity, if the girl is not materialistic she will feel touched. Especially for a rich girl like No Tin Noyet, who lacks nothing, this kind of scene touched her soft heart. I wonder, how did So Phong think of cutting the sleeping bag for cotton? Normal people would never think of that. Ha Min exclaimed. Indeed, I could never have thought of it. Vong Lam nodded. Teacher Ha, did the program not prepare sanitary pads for the girls? No Tin Noyet asked. No, everything must be handled by the challengers. Hamin spread his hands, saying, 2 days ago 2 female challengers quit because of this. In wilderness survival, some things must be solved by oneself. Von Lam frowned and said calmly, in the wild men and women are equal. If a girl is alone with no one to help, what then? Notin Noyet was stunned, whispering, I was just asking, not saying anything. Ahem. Hamin and Von Lam glanced at each other awkwardly. Well. Notin Noyet took a sip of water, shook her head and said, I cannot think of a better way. What about Vaidin? Hamin turned to the quiet female warrior. Just let it flow. Te Vaidin answered coldly. PFF. Notin Noyet spat out her water, staring in shock at Te Vaidin's calm face, such fierceness. Ahem, let us keep watching the live stream. Hamin coughed and quickly changed the subject. Te Vaidin tilted her head, thinking her answer was not wrong. So Phong focused on sewing, clumsy but satisfied. After half an hour the 2 pieces of cloth were almost done, only missing the cotton filling. First, disinfect. So Phong poured hot water into a bamboo tube, boiled half a pot of fresh water, then put the cloth in. The cloth had been left for long and unwashed, only boiling could disinfect it. After some 15 minutes, the water boiled furiously, so Phong used bamboo to fish the cloth out, hung it on clean bamboo and placed it near the fire to dry. He took out clean clothes, approached Van Han and said softly, first clean the blood, the cloth will be ready soon. Ah? How can I? Van Han saw the trousers handed to her and shook her head quickly. So embarrassing. She thought it was worse than using her bra. Once washed it will be fine, do not worry. So Phong said calmly. Van Han hesitated, it sounds reasonable. But, still too embarrassing. She shrank back into the sleeping bag. Rustling. So Phong looked at the twisted sleeping bag, smiled slightly, after a few times you will get used to it. He continued drying the cloth faster. When the cloth cooled, he stuffed the cotton inside, sewed the hole shut, and the 2 pads were complete. Done. He sighed, looking at them with satisfaction. He called, Van Han, ready? Yes, yes. Her voice came faintly. Then I am coming. He walked over, opened the sleeping bag and saw her flushed face. He chuckled, will you hide in there forever? Poof. Van Han pouted shyly. Here, put it on the mat. He handed it to her. Stop hesitating, change quickly. He urged seriously. He. Van Han smiled quietly at his back, warmth filling her heart. Stop daydreaming, change and eat breakfast. He reminded gently. Van Han responded with a long tone, blushing as she went into the sleeping bag. Chapter 146, Building a New Shelter. The sleeping bag moved slightly. A few minutes later Van Han with messy hair crawled out. She put on her jacket and rolled the sleeping bag into a bundle. Inside were the washed clothes. The girl blushed, lowered her head not daring to look at So Phong, quickly went to get a toothbrush and bamboo cup to rinse her mouth. So Phong placed the hearty breakfast on the wooden table, resting his chin on one hand, his clear eyes stared at her back. Glug glug, foo. Van Han rinsed her mouth, wiped her face with a towel, turned and met So Phong's gaze, her cheeks flushed. She shyly whispered, why are you staring at me? Van Han pouted, slowly sat on the wooden chair, sipping the fish soup. They ate breakfast in silence, neither spoke. She felt awkward, while So Phong did not want to break the quiet. So Phong, what will you do later? Van Han asked. I will clear this place to build the shelter. So Phong put down the chopsticks, gently said, do not do heavy work today, rest more. Yes, I know. Van Han nodded obediently. Finish the rest. So Phong stood up. This cliff wall is natural, just stack stones on the other 3 sides and it will be 4 walls. He thought quietly. Stones were plenty, what was lacking was mud to fix them, clay would be the best. First clean the ground. He decided. He squatted to move the stones. After more than an hour, he had cleared an area about 7 or 8 meters wide. He planned a shelter 7 or 8 meters wide, using stones and clay for walls and floor. The fireplace should be built inside the wall, the chimney made of clay. After several fires it will be semi-ceramic, no worry of rain washing it away. He gestured while planning. He found a flat stone, used charcoal to sketch. Here no need to close fully, leave a side door leading to the bridge. Bathroom and toilet can be one, the important thing is underground drainage. Bamboo pipes can lead 10 meters into the forest, then no smell remains. The more he thought, the more details he added. Finally he restrained himself, kept only the essentials. Looking at the drawing, he sighed, at least 7 or 8 days to complete. It was fast mainly because stones were already here, otherwise it would take longer. He once thought of making bricks, but denied it, because making enough would take months, even moving clay would take days. He went to drink water. At the gate saw Van Hahn washing clothes and sleeping bag by the stream. "Do not stay under the sun too long," he called. "Ah." Van Hahn turned and softly replied, "I know, I will finish soon." "Remember to drink more water," he said. "Okay." She smiled. He shook his head, returned to drink water, replenishing his sweat. He went back to the big stone, picked up a shovel to dig ditches and a latrine. Crack, swish swish. Van Hahn hung the laundry, asked curiously, "So Phong, is this place too large?" A shelter 7 or 8 meters wide was big, but since stones were available, it would be faster. Finally done, now only to place bamboo pipes. He sighed. The big bamboo must be fetched from the beach, they were used up, so pipes must wait. First lay the ground well. He thought and decided. The floor must resist water. He dug several ditches, laid stones above, creating natural insulation. The ditches connected to the fireplace, smoke would be directed to keep warm. In summer just block them with stones. After more than 2 hours, the stone floor was complete. Then he spread clay, the foundation was done. He looked at the sun, walked into the shelter, drank water, his eyes fell on Van Hahn handling animal hides. "So Phong, this deer hide will be usable when dry." She raised it. Deer and rabbit hides had been soaked in ash water, fat washed off. "Make yourself clothes, so you need not wear the jacket all the time," he said. "Ah? For me?" She blinked. "This deer hide is not big, just right for you." He waved. "But it is wasteful." She hesitated. Books. "It is settled, you have clothes, I can still use the jacket," he said sincerely. The jacket was her only warmth, but if rain came, he could wear it to explore the forest. Chapter 147, Winter Snow Falls. The hideout has thorny fences for protection, it is very safe. So Phong will never arrange wrongly, food matters most. If it were me, I would kill more deer. A bunch of people only know how to brag, reasoning clearly, but if thrown into the wild, they could not last a day. Please, go study geography. Chien Noyet Island in winter is covered with snow. So those challengers are gone already? The audience argued endlessly, but it did not affect So Phong's plan. He glanced at the sun, realizing it was past 4 in the afternoon, only 2 hours left until dark. "I will carry back some clay," he told the girl. "Go then." Van Hahn was thinking how to make clothes from deer hide. She was convinced by him, saving the jacket for other uses, sewing the hide into clothes for herself. So Phong carried a bamboo basket and a military shovel. To build a stone wall, he needed adhesive. In the old days sticky rice was used. Now he could only use mud. Luckily he found clay, stronger than common soil. One trip of clay took 20 minutes, 3 trips per hour. To cover the base fully he needed more than 20 trips. By dusk, he had hauled 7 loads, leaving him exhausted. It was hard labor. Another pair of shoes is gone. He looked at the broken rope of his sandals. New shoes lasted only 3 or 4 days before breaking. He pulled the last thread and tossed them aside, then washed himself. With no shirt, His upper body was covered in clay, like a clay statue. So Phong, dinner is ready. Van Han called from the hideout gate. Coming. He shouted back. So careless. She fetched a towel and went to him. Seeing his back covered in mud, his shoulders red and scraped, her heart ached. It does not hurt. He shook his head, the rope marks still remained, but less painful than carrying clay. Let me wash your hair, do not move. She held his hand down. Her fingers skillfully scrubbed his hair, then his back and shoulders. Spotting the broken shoes, she knew how hard he had worked, her hands pressed harder. She whispered, So Phong, do not rush like that. I am not rushing, it is my normal pace. He smiled. With his strength, 7 or 8 hours of hard work was nothing. Your shoes are worn again. She worried. She rolled her eyes and softly persuaded, We have plenty of time, do not be so reckless. You are coaxing me. She pouted, treated like a child. Ahem, then tomorrow you supervise me. He grinned. Like you would listen. She pouted, knowing his stubbornness. I will listen. He murmured. About 10 minutes later. He wiped his face with the towel, feeling refreshed. Come inside quickly, it is too cold out. She urged, as the night chill grew. All right. He looked at the sunset, another day gone. They closed the thorn gate, the little world belonged to them alone. Eat quickly, you must be hungry. She served him a large bowl of venison. Knowing his need for energy, she cooked a whole pot, so he could fill his stomach. Tonight is rich, he said, appetite awakened. He placed meat in her bowl, gently, eat more, replenish your blood. Her face turned red, too shy to answer, she lowered her head to eat. The shy girl could not handle such intimate words. They ate warmly, then sat on wooden chairs, savoring the meal. After a while, she collected the bowls, soaking them in a jar for morning. Van Han, take a bath, rest early tonight. He went out to light a fire. Girls during menstruation easily feel tired, without rest they catch illness. Yes. She nodded, taking sun-dried clothes, especially the sanitary cloth. Another day ended, she still brimmed with vitality. Chapter 148, Lu Wai Thursday's Malice. At this moment Lu Wai Thursday and Lu Wai Mang were both flustered, staring at each other without knowing what to do. Sister, what should we do now? Lu Wai Mang said miserably. She was on her period, completely helpless, without any sanitary pads. She turned to look at the camera, stood up, and pointed the lens outside, for there were some private matters a girl could not show. The audience instantly went crazy with bullet comments. Disgusting woman, I advise you to be kind. It is rare to hear a girl's secret, yet you avoid us, disgusting. Let us hear, we will help you think of a way. In front of those old men, you dare pass secret thoughts? Sister, the blood is flowing out. Lu Wai Meng shouted in panic. Lu Wai Thursday replied angrily, Fine, I am thinking. She rubbed her temples, pacing back and forth, if her sister's issue could not be solved, then hers later would be troublesome too. 10 minutes passed, then 15, then half an hour. She was so sleepy she almost collapsed, if not forced to sit upright she would have slept on the grass. Lu Wai Meng only felt some mild abdominal pain, she was considered lucky compared to many other girls. Lu Wai Meng, I found a way. Lu Wai Thursday exclaimed excitedly. Ha? You? Did you just doze off? Lu Wai Thursday squinted, glaring at her drowsy sister. She had been worrying endlessly, while her sister seemed careless. No, not at all, absolutely not. Lu Wai Meng shook her head quickly. Really? Lu Wai Thursday narrowed her eyes further. Really, I swear on your chest, if I lie, may yours shrink one size. Lu Wai Meng spoke nonsense with a straight face. You. Lu Wai Thursday rolled her eyes, fuming, be serious, this is important. All right, I am listening. Lu Wai Meng straightened reluctantly, hand on her stomach. Use the bra as a pad, like ancient girls used cloth wrapped around. Lu Wai Thursday said seriously. Ah? Then we lose our bra? Lu Wai Meng asked dumbfounded. No choice, luckily we have jackets. Lu Wai Thursday tugged at her jacket, calmly said, better than exposing openly. Fine, I follow you. Lu Wai Meng sighed, resigned. She took off her jacket, removed her bra, cut it apart with a knife, folded 4 or 5 layers for absorbency. Boil it in water to remove sweat and bacteria. Lu Wai Thursday reminded. She poured bamboo water into the iron pot to boil. They had cut much bamboo to make containers for sweet water. Put the bra in the pot. Lu Wai Thursday said. Okay. Lu Wai Meng wore her jacket again, placed the cut bra halves into the pot. Soon the water boiled furiously. Burning with fire disinfects, then can be used. Lu Wai Thursday hung the bra on bamboo, analyzing, now I know why they gave us one bra, it was meant for today. Really? Lu Wai Meng still doubted. Just my guess. Lu Wai Thursday replied. After more than 10 minutes. All right, this half is for wiping blood. Lu Wai Thursday handed over. Is it ready? She split the other half into 2, folding 4 or 5 layers, one for now, one for tomorrow. Good, give me. Lu Wai Meng urged. Here. Lu Wai Thursday handed it. Moments later, Lu Wai Meng came out in her jacket, holding blood-stained shorts. Wash them tomorrow morning, or you will have no pants to wear. Lu Wai Thursday rolled her eyes. They had not washed clothes, days before only washed at dusk then dried by fire. Now it was night, they dared not go out. Understood. Lu Wai Meng replied crisply. Tomorrow we stay in. Lu Wai Thursday sighed. Don't be silly. She patted her sister's arm, calmly said, now you carry blood scent, I fear beasts will attack. Really? Lu Wai Meng cried in disbelief. Don't doubt, news once reported in the Long Na area a woman on her period was attacked by a bear. Lu Wai Thursday said firmly. Lu Wai Meng opened her mouth but was speechless. In coming days we dig bamboo rat burrows, there are so many, dig them open, we will catch some. Lu Wai Thursday gritted her teeth with malice. Truthfully, those bamboo rats were too cunning, only ruthless methods could catch them all. That is a good idea. Lu Wai Meng's eyes lit up, she had never tried it before. Chapter 149, Make a Bed. Van Han was combing her long black hair, it was a bit dry and hurt to touch, out in the wild it never stayed smooth. She cherished it, because someone once said they liked girls with straight black hair, so she always took care. So Phong was braiding rope, he saw her frown then looked at her hair, no longer soft and shiny. He quickly understood the reason, but he had no way to help unless they found plants that could nourish it. So Phong, here are new shoes. Van Han did not dwell on her hair, she brought out rope sandals. She had made 5 or 6 pairs, she herself wore one, at camp she found them light and comfortable, and they also protected better than leather boots. Do you not feel cold in these? So Phong asked as he looked at her bare feet. Wear the leather boots, if they break then repair, they can last a whole year. He knew her temperament, like a child saving new clothes for festivals. Not cold, the fire keeps me warm. Van Han shook her head. She could not catch a cold now, or her cramps would worsen, that would be bad. No, too wasteful. She refused, better to save rabbit pelts, than I will sew warm clothes. She looked at the bamboo cage, those rabbit skins would be used. Why look at the cage? Did you not want to raise them? So Phong frowned. He recalled she asked many times about baby rabbits, now she wanted to kill? The weather is cold, no clothes, we must kill rabbits for fur. Van Han sighed. Reality was harsher than dreams, she was not a dreamer, she had to survive. Do not worry, we will have animal skins. So Phong grinned, soon I will build a big trap for deer, then we will have many furs. Winter was coming, warmth would be solved, once the new shelter was built, hunting would sustain them. As you say, I follow you. Van Han knew nothing of hunting. All right. She took out half a deer hide, it could only make a small coat, not a long shirt. First make a bed, so when the shelter is done we can sleep in it. So Phong thought. Sleeping bags were fine but too cramped. A bed would be better, later they could use hides as blankets and mattresses. People always seek comfort, with free nights he wanted to craft a bamboo wood bed. Carving planks was hard, bamboo was easier. Use these 4 logs for posts. He picked quickly. For logs as thick as calves, carved ends to fit crossbars, with V-notches to hold. This made a square frame, 2 meters long, 1.8 wide, very solid. Then rolling at night would not shake it or make creaks. So Phong, this bed is too big. Van Han stared, half the hut was filled. It is fine, the new shelter will be large. He smiled, tilted the frame to save space. Looking around he found only short bamboo, not enough for planks. It seems we must fetch bamboo at the beach soon. He frowned, decided to finish the base and walls first. The wall needed time to settle, meanwhile he could do other tasks. Van Han yawned, her eyes heavy by firelight. Go to sleep. So Phong urged. What about you? She asked. I must keep watch. He put on shoes, stepped outside. After the deer hunt only 2 days passed, clever beasts might lurk nearby. So Phong, do not follow me. She blushed and scolded, books. I can go alone. No, you smell of blood, beasts may attack. He answered firmly. She flushed deeper, unable to argue, like a little girl she ran to the cage. Better safe than sorry. He shrugged, in the darkness he saw green glowing eyes. Again? He crouched, grabbed a stone and hurled it. Swoosh! Sneaky ambush. He cursed. Boom! The stone struck a tree loud, frightening the beast away. One day I will kill you. He narrowed his eyes, the beast was very wary. Chapter 150, Belly Rub. Alright, let's go back. Yen Han blushed and stepped out of the wooden cage. Sua Phong nodded, his eyes fixed on the beast's path, watching to see if it would return. Yen Han blinked and asked suspiciously, Sua Phong, what is it? Nothing, go back to sleep. He brushed the dust off his hands and followed her to their shelter. Once back, under his urging, she crawled into her sleeping bag. Here, drink some hot water then sleep again, you will feel better. He brought a clay bowl. Hoo. Yen Han got up, blew on it, and slowly drank. Sleep now. He smiled softly, patting her head. Then when will you sleep? She curled up, head tucked inside the bag. Soon. He walked to the hut, added wood to the fire, then strengthened the bed. Half an hour later. Alright, time to sleep. He stretched his back, washed his hands, drank some water, and entered the shelter, taking off clothes and shoes before crawling carefully into the bag. Go. She let out a faint groan. Still awake? He asked gently, patting her back. I cannot sleep. She moved closer, resting her head on his chest. She said nothing, rubbing her face against him, hands holding her belly. Lie still, I will rub for you. He spoke tenderly. In the past, when her period came, she often could not sleep from pain, and he would rub her belly like a warm compress. She nodded shyly, voice soft. She placed her hands on his chest, then slowly lay on her back. She answered faintly, tugging his shirt. He placed both hands on her belly, rubbing gently, asking, Do you feel better now? No, it is not so painful. Her face turned red, she tilted her head away, not daring to meet his gaze. Sleep, he said softly, still rubbing. All right, she whispered. He yawned quietly, rubbing until warmth came, repeating until her breath became steady, then he stopped. Mark, he ordered in his mind. A virtual screen appeared, the 16th day lit up. Aha! He yawned again, not expecting to stay up till dawn. Go, no. She turned over, clinging to him like an octopus, mumbling in sleep with a dreamy smile. He chuckled warmly and slowly closed his eyes. The next morning. When he woke, she was already up, though her scent lingered. Up so early? He stretched and looked around for her. By the hut, near the fire, she was cooking breakfast. Why not sleep more? How is your body? He frowned, wondering why today he was the lazy one. He climbed out, dressed, and walked over. I feel much better. She blushed, avoiding his eyes, recalling last night, even more embarrassed. That is good. He felt relieved. Hurry and brush, breakfast is ready. She stirred the pot, cooking wild greens, fungus, and venison. About 15 minutes later, after eating, she washed the pot and fetched water. Be careful on the road. She added wood, boiling water so that when he returned he would have cool water. She too had many chores today, washing, braiding rope, and shaping clay. Over 20 minutes later, he carried clay back, working non-stop till noon. Sua Phong, drink and rest. She called. All right. He wiped his sweat, accepted the bowl. Gulp gulp. He drank 2 bowls before stopping. Not enough clay yet? She helped wipe his sweat and asked, shall I dig with you this afternoon? It will be faster. No need, 2 more trips this afternoon will be enough. He shook his head, glancing at the shelter's foundation, only a corner still bare. But the walls also need clay to fix. She put her hands on her hips, recalling Lu Feng's words, stones must be set with clay to build the other 3 walls. You just rest till you are well. He smiled, refusing. Ah, all right. She pouted, turned away, poured water into a jar, added more, and began preparing lunch. Chapter 151, Exquisite Wall Building. After finishing lunch, Phong carried a bamboo basket to dig clay, while the girl washed the bowls and wiped them with ropes. More than 1 hour later, he brought back 4 loads of clay, some used for the foundation, the rest for the wall. Phong, drink some mint water. Van Han brought a clay cup, inside was cool water with mint leaves. All right. Clack, clack. He took the cup, drank it in several gulps, chewing the leaves, the bitter cool taste refreshed him. Van Han looked at the clay and asked, are you starting the wall today? Yes, today just a little. He wiped sweat, fanned with a leaf. After drinking, he sighed, refreshing. The weather is hot, rest a bit. She said softly. All right. He nodded. Let me wipe your sweat. She looked at his strong body, thinking how after just over 10 days outside, his figure improved so much. No need, I will sweat again soon. He shook his head, knowing the heat would drench him again. Then later I will wipe again. She rolled her eyes, using cloth scraps to clean his sweat. He smiled wryly and said nothing. She wiped twice before stopping. Enough, books. That is fine. He tapped the stone beside him, signaling her to sit. They sat under the tree chatting, still braiding rope. After half an hour passed. Time to work. He drank mint water, walked to the stones. Aha! Van Han yawned, blinking tired eyes and asked, Phong, how will you do it? Since her monthly cycle, she easily felt weak. Wait and see. He squatted, placing stones, fixing them with clay. He tied rope ends to the stones, stretching a straight line. By afternoon, viewers saw them clearly. The audience ranked first, over 20 million kept watching. No Tin Noyet stared curiously, is he building a wall? Yes, but why pull the rope? Haman asked, Teacher Vong, do you know? If not mistaken, the rope acts like a simple water level tool. Von Lam guessed, recalling village workers using it. Ah, a water level tool? Ha Min was surprised, not expecting such perfection. Not exactly. Von Lam twitched lips, even he was not that precise. No Tin Noyet murmured, as expected, so Phong is careful. Ha Min chuckled inside, then said, let us watch what he does next. He followed the rope, spread clay, placed stones, finishing the first layer, then the second. So Phong, how do you know to build walls? She asked curiously. A storm once broke the old wall, and Vong Elder helped repair it. I remember now. She nodded, recalling that he even bought ice cream for them, rare at that time. Thinking of him, her face dimmed with grief. So Phong comforted, after leaving here, we will visit him. All right. She forced a smile, kept braiding rope. More than 3 hours later, the wall reached 1 meter, straight and even, clay smoothed over gaps. So Phong, by noon already so high? She exclaimed, holding wild greens. The wall was 7 meters wide, he alone carried stones, spread clay, and fetched clay back, while stones were irregular. Today is enough, the wall is low, wait until the base clay dries to continue. He said softly, satisfied. Will there be a window? She asked curiously. Chapter 152, Not necessarily willing to team up. At Tran Shi Hai's camp, Zhao Lei's brother and the black bear sat around the fire. The wood crackled as it burned. Soon we can eat. Zhao Lei held a string of palm hearts over the fire, checking them now and then. Yesterday, after receiving 4 palm hearts from Tran Shi Hai, the brothers could not forget the taste. This morning they searched half a day without food, which made them crave even more. On Zhao Lei's suggestion, they came again to help build the shelter, in exchange for 4 palm hearts, a more reliable way than foraging alone. But they ended up working until night, and for safety had to stay at the camp. I know. Zhao Lei quickly pulled the palm hearts out of the fire. Tran Shi Hai smiled, already thinking of how to keep them working for him. Gentlemen, how do the palm hearts taste? He asked softly. Zhao Lei chewed and replied vaguely, not bad. Tran Shi Hai folded his arms, eyes deep. Would you like to eat this every day? What do you mean? Zhao Lei stopped chewing, wary. You know why you are here today. Tran Shi Hai smiled, recalling his psychology lessons. We just happened to pass by and helped a little. Zhao Lei replied, suddenly finding the palm heart less tasty. They were not fools, they heard the meaning. Let's cooperate, 2 of you cannot last long, we know how to find food. Tran Shi Hai looked straight at them, full of confidence. After 1 day of testing and giving them a taste, now it was easier to persuade them. The brothers looked at each other, knowing he spoke truth, but if they agreed, they would lose control. Seeing their hesitation, Tran Shi Hai smiled faintly. Winter is coming, with only you 2 the chance of finding food is smaller, survival rate is less than with 4 together. Well. Zhao Lei hesitated, looking at his brother. Zhao Lei asked, how would cooperation work? 4 people searching and surviving together. Tran Shi Hai waved his palm heart. Honestly, I feel we are at a disadvantage. Zhao Lei pressed his lips, knowing he had the advantage. If we reach the end, how to split the prize? Zhao Lei asked the key question. No matter how much, we split evenly, or if too many people bother you then it's fine. Tran Shi Hai said calmly. We need to discuss. Zhao Lei signaled his brother. Fine. Tran Shi Hai waved casually. The brothers wavered, then moved aside to whisper. Can he be trusted? Zhao Lei whispered. Trust is one thing, but he is right. For survive better than 2. Zhao Lei leaned toward cooperation. Their survival skills seemed useless on this island, they had to rely on others. Zhao Lei analyzed quietly, trap or not, for now we lose nothing. Let's cooperate, later we can decide. With decision made, they returned. What do you think? Tran Chi Hai asked. If we eat, you too eat. Zhao Lei replied. Tran Chi Hai extended his hand, smiling, happy cooperation. Happy cooperation. Zhao Lei shook hands, sealing the alliance. Zhao Lei swallowed his palm heart, then asked, what next? Get 2 more palm hearts for the brothers. Tran Chi Hai said. All right. The black bear stood up. Build the shelter first, then store food for winter. Tran Chi Hai said calmly. If food ran out, he would not mind taking from others. In the monitoring room, Ha Min and the others were watching live. The audience commented. Tran Chi Hai is not good, his fake smile is disgusting. He is smart, not as bad as you say. Feels like all are scheming, none are decent. Agree. Everyone is Conan now, I am Bao Zhang. Are the Zhao brothers planning infiltration? No Tin Noi yet exclaimed. It is also a survival method. Wang Lin said calmly, though uneasy. If it were him, he would also do so, as long as he lived. If Professor Wang joined, would you do the same? No Tin Noi yet asked. Wang Lin was silent, then said, I would not stoop that low. He now felt disappointed in the brothers. I suspect there will be more teams later. Ha Min said deeply. The capable ones are not necessarily willing to team up. Wang Lin concluded. Chapter 153, The Boar's Whereabouts. The sun shone high, and today was another bright day. So Phong opened his eyes and turned to see the girl lying face down on him, a small smile touching his lips. Last night they ate venison stew with wild greens, then sat in their shelter fiddling with rope and talking until late. Before sleep he had gently rubbed her belly, and in that half-awakened state they both fell asleep. He carefully moved her off his body. No. Van Han let out a sweet sleepy sound and rolled over to pretend she was still asleep, though trembling lashes and flushed cheeks gave her away. He did not expose her, he slipped out of the sleeping bag, dressed, and left the hide. Mark. He thought, and a simulated screen appeared, the number Muoi Bei glowing. 4 days remain, he murmured. Pushing past the thorn bushes, he stepped outside and scanned the camp as usual. His brow furrowed when he saw churned mud by the ditch and many footprints. He crouched and examined the fist-sized prints, making quick comparisons in his head. So Phong, what are you doing? Van Han asked as she emerged with an iron pot to fetch water for breakfast. A wild boar passed through here this morning. He pointed. A boar? Really? She cried, hurrying over. Don't rush. He warned. Don't worry, my cycle has passed. Van Han waved and smiled, setting the pot down. A woman's cycle usually lasts from 2 to 8 days depending on condition and mood, because she had rested well it ended early, otherwise it would often last 3 days or more. That is good. So Phong said, relieved. So a boar came here this morning, she asked. These fresh prints are from a boar. He confirmed, the loosened mud was recent. Following the track he understood at once. The boar must have been drawn by the water and appeared near the stream. If a boar is here, catching it would give us pork. Her eyes brightened, one animal could extend their food stores by 2 months. You stay here, I'll see where it went. He stood. I want to go too. She worried, fearing for his safety. Mature boars can weigh up to 300 kilos, run at about 40 to 70 kilometers per hour, and have sharp tusks. A direct collision can cause serious injury. Be good, I will return quickly, finish preparing breakfast. He tousled her hair. Then be careful, she urged. Don't worry, if I meet the boar I'll turn and run. He smiled. Many patches of grass were trampled or grazed to the roots, leaving muddy hollows. He followed the trail for over 10 minutes and reached a low area with a large muddy pool. The water was still churned and cloudy, showing recent disturbance. Likely runoff formed the pool and the boar had found it as a natural bath. meet at last. His mouth twitched, a plan formed. After surveying the terrain, he ran back to camp. 10 minutes later he returned. Van Haan breathed out in relief. How was it? Are you hurt? I'm fine, he said, smiling. I did not find the boar, but we can set a trap. I will fetch the tools, he nodded. Eat first, then we'll go, she urged. All right, he agreed. After half an hour she tidied the cookware while he whittled bamboo. The leftover stalks were arm-length and ideal for steaks. So Phong, are you planning a pit trap? She asked, seeing the sharpened poles and recalling scenes from dramas. Yes, clever girl, he praised, tying the last poles with rope. They carried bamboo and shovels toward the pool. 10 minutes later they arrived. Do you think the boar will return? She asked. Yes, he said, pointing to a bare patch about 1 meter from the pool. Here we dig. Before them the grass was crushed, marking the boar's path. More than 2 hours later a pit 1.5 meters wide and 1 meter deep lay finished. The damp soil made digging easier. He jumped down and fixed the stakes into the bottom. Good, now we cover it, he panted, pulling her from the pit. How will we hide it? She asked, curious. Chapter 154, Attaining Purification. So Phong brushed the mud from his clothes and scanned the area, saying, break some branches and cover the pit, that will do. Will a boar really fall into it? Van Haan asked in surprise. It will come back. So Phong smiled and went into the forest to break many branches and hide the pit. Once a boar had passed here, it was likely to return. He spread dry soil over the branches from a bamboo basket so the spot looked like an ordinary dirt path. Could other animals ruin the trap? Van Haan worried. If we cannot catch a boar, catching something else is fine. So Phong replied with a smile. Catching a boar would be best, but if not, that was acceptable. Not everything goes as planned. So Phong, what else should we do? Van Haan brushed mud from her jacket. Cut more branches to fence the area. So Phong wiped sweat from his brow and walked toward the woods with his axe. I will help you. Van Haan followed. After more than half an hour, they had enough branches. They blocked most exits, leaving only the small path the boars used. On the live stream, comments flooded in. It was a day off and viewers were waking up confused. What are they doing? Can someone explain? So Phong and Van Haan are setting traps for boars. Bold, they dare catch wild boars. It is only a pig, I could take it down in minutes. You fool, do you know how dangerous a boar is? One boar can leave you bedridden for 3 days and nights. I suspect other motives, but I have no proof. Everyone take a seat and enjoy the show. In the control room, the director switched the feed to So Phong and Van Haan. No Tin Noyet, who had been puzzled, brightened immediately. She asked, what are they doing? It looks like they are setting a trap to catch a boar. Ha Min said while reading comments that echoed the same. Boars are not easy to catch. Vong Lam added in a grave tone. Master Vong, are boars really that dangerous? No Tin Noyet asked. She had lived in the city and did not know the difference between wild boars and domestic pigs. He once encountered a boar on an outing and tried to catch it for food but failed, was tossed aside, and then bedridden for 2 months to recover. Te Vai Din blinked and pressed his lips, not revealing that he had once killed a boar alone. If luck favors them, they might indeed catch one. Vong Lam said with emotion. He had expected them to be eliminated, yet they survived the best. Let us wait and see the show. Ha Min eased the mood. All right, let us return and watch again tonight. So Phong waved his hand, choosing to wait for the boar to appear. In this heat, the boar would likely return in the afternoon. Yes. Van Haan nodded. After 10 minutes they returned to camp and washed mud from their legs in the ditch. Van Haan pushed aside thorn bushes and filled an iron pot with water to boil mint tea. You start the fire, I will fetch clay. So Phong rested briefly, then lifted his bamboo basket and shovel. I will go with you. Van Han hung the pot and dropped a few mint leaves into the water. Let us go. So Phong smiled. I will try to catch fish or shrimp. Van Han took a small basket and planned to search the stream. They set out with tools. Minutes later at the riverbank, So Phong dug clay with the shovel. Van Han tapped the grass with a stick, wary of snakes. After checking, she removed her shoes, stepped into the water, and searched. She found several thumb-sized snails and placed them in the basket, little meat, but they added to their food. The water is clear, I can see. Van Han lifted her wet hair. So Phong reminded her, if there is danger, run to camp and call me loudly. In the wild, one must always stay alert even when apart for a moment. I will. Van Han answered, eyes fixed on the shallow water where she saw a crab scuttle by. She moved slowly and cupped her hands to catch it. Watching her cautious movements, So Phong chuckled and carried the basket back toward camp. After 10 minutes he returned and saw her radiant smile, and his heart felt refreshed. So Phong, look, I caught 2 crabs. Van Han proudly showed the basket. Excellent, tonight we will have something new. So Phong praised. Do not stay too long in the sun, beware heatstroke. He placed his hand on her forehead to feel her temperature. I know. Van Han lifted her face and blinked her clear eyes. Chapter 155, Suddenly the Howl. After catching 2 crabs, Van Han still helped dig clay, even made a slab of mud, and finally the two went to the stream to wash before returning. Covered in sweat, So Phong carried the bamboo basket behind the girl, and they came back to the camp. So Phong, take a rest first, I will fetch some mint water for you. Van Han carried the basket and ran back to the shelter. So Phong, quickly drink this water. Van Han held 2 clay bowls and came over carefully. You drink too. So Phong took the bowl and after drinking he spoke. I already drank, you should drink. Van Han offered the other bowl. Seeing her lips still wet, he accepted the clay bowl and took several sips. Seeing him soaked in sweat, she asked with concern, do you need more? There is still some in the pot. Leave it, pour it into the clay jar and later we boil it again for lunch. So Phong waved his hand, sat under the tree shade near the rocks, planning to rest then continue building the wall. She nodded and went back with the bowls. He looked at the stone wall about 1 meter high, pondered for a while then returned to the shelter. Soon he came out with a hatchet and went into the forest. More than 10 minutes later, he came back carrying several logs as thick as an arm. Van Han came out with a bundle of hibiscus bark, sat under the shade and asked curiously, So Phong, what are you going to do? Make a window, the new shelter wall is stone, it needs ventilation. He carved the wood while speaking. I see. She nodded, still braiding rope. I wonder if wild boars will come. He muttered, setting the window frame on the wall. He arranged the logs like a chessboard of 6, tied them with rope, and a frame was done. The whole frame was 1 meter wide and half a meter high. He tested it on the wall, marked the spot, so when building he just needed to leave the space. 3 walls were built, he also fired the clay into half pottery to strengthen, then fitted the frame in. Tomorrow we will go to the beach to cut bamboo, braid a window cover, then it will be perfect. He smiled. Yes, we need to bring back bamboo. He smiled again. Bamboo would be needed for many things, from the new shelter to household items. At the beach we should also cook some salt, pick seaweed, and see what food we can get. Van Han counted on her fingers. Hearing her plan, he smiled, moved rocks and built another wall. For safety, he planned to build 3 walls halfway, let them harden then continue. It would take 5 days, at this pace it was doable. After more than 3 hours, the weather grew cooler, still some time before dark. He fixed the last stone, the second wall was now as high as the first. So Phong, take a rest. Van Han reminded. Okay. He brushed clay off his hands and went under the shade. Suddenly, he heard a faint sound. So Phong, what is it? She asked in surprise. Books. It seemed like a scream. He tilted his ear to listen. Thanks to his enhanced body, his hearing was much stronger. Really? I did not hear anything, she said, startled. His eyes lit up. He said excitedly, "Come, let us see." Then quickly, she widened her eyes. He carried bow and hatchet, and together they crept toward the trap. Before arriving, the boar's roar was already clear. Gao! Gao! Van Han, wait here, I will check if it is dangerous, he warned softly. Be careful, she said anxiously. Okay. He nodded, sneaking close. Soon he reached the trap, the branches on top gone. Inside the pit came a wretched roar. A wild boar more than 1 meter tall, covered in dry mud, some parts stained with blood, 2 yellow tusks pointing upward. In the hot day, this species especially needed mud to protect the skin. His face lit up in excitement. He shouted back, "Van Han, come quickly, tonight we have pork." She held her chest, panting, asking brokenly, "Really caught a wild boar? See for yourself." He patted her shoulder, pointing down. Great, this meat will last long. She looked in, saw the boar, and her face bloomed with joy. Change flavor, tonight. We eat pork. He smiled. How do we pull it up? She whispered, looking at the struggling boar. I will go down and tie it, then we pull it together. He looked around. That was the only way. Okay. She nodded. Go fetch 2 clay jars, pig blood cannot be wasted. He smiled. All right, I will go now. She nodded and ran back. Do not let the blood flow out, pig blood is valuable. He muttered, eyes alert. We must quickly bring you back to the shelter. He waited for her, worried the blood scent would draw other beasts. Unaware, the observers were already in chaos. Chapter 156, Is So Phong a Strongman? I didn't expect they caught a wild boar. Wow, this luck is really something. It's nothing, let me do it and I could do the same, mainly because there is a little lowly to keep company. Did you drink fake liquor in broad daylight? If it were you, you might have died there. Little lowly, this does not need to be that frugal. A wave of delicacies flies toward the little lowly, braised pork, stewed meat, and a pot of sliced pork. Are you all becoming gods only by your mouths? Silence. Von Lam watched the live room raining bullets, and his mouth twitched. He decided to ignore those remarks, yet he still envied So Phong and the little lowly's luck. I didn't expect they really caught a boar. There is some luck, but without So Phong's prep it would not happen. Von Lam cleared his throat and analyzed calmly. The trap matters, and So Phong knows boar habits. Strictly speaking, this is strength-based. Tai Din said blandly, hitting Von Lam's weak spot. Right, So Phong and the little lowly worked hard, spent long time digging. Catching the boar is pure strength. No Tin Noyet raised a forefinger, defending So Phong and Van Han. He had decided that next time he would not speak lightly. Haha, they do have strength, let's guess how long they can hold on. Ha Min forced a smile and changed the topic. Unexpectedly, Tai Din spoke up and even defended So Phong and Van Han, and the effect was quite good. I think they can last 3 months. No Tin Noyet whispered. Though winter is near, she still thinks today's food can support them for 3 months. Half a year. Tai Din said coolly. In fact, she guessed So Phong knows many survival skills, based on recent observation. Ah, why Din rates So Phong and Van Han so highly? Ha Min marveled. No Tin Noyet rolled her eyes, then asked brightly, Teacher Von, what do you think? Silence. Von Lam pressed his lips and pretended not to hear. Teacher Vang, say something. Ha Min pressed on. Half a year. Von Lam's eye twitched, annoyed, and he considered dodging this show. Teacher Vang also thinks well of them, rare indeed. No Tin Noyet snickered. The viewers were delighted and enjoyed Vong Lam's helpless look. Who told him to look down on the little lowly and so Phong? Expert Von lives next door to me, I still want to visit him tonight. In front of that one, are you trying to drive a car? Silence. After a bit more than 10 minutes. Huff, huff. Van Han returned to the trap carrying 2 clay jars and panted. She feared the pig blood would run out, so she had run all the way without rest. Rest first, I will go down and collect the blood. So Phong patted the girl's back. Mm. Van Han nodded, leaned on the pit edge, and calmed down. The boar was dying, and at his appearance it only growled weakly. He slowly pulled out the bamboo stuck in its neck, and it howled. Gay-o-o. The boar shuddered, fresh blood spurted, and the girl hurriedly passed a jar. So Phong took the jar, squatted, and set the mouth to the neck wound to catch blood. A few minutes later the boar stopped twitching, the jar was full, and the smell filled his nose. He handed the full jar to Van Han, who set it down, covered it with big leaves, and wound rope around the mouth to keep dirt out. By the same method the girl sealed the other jar as well. Van Han, give me the rope. So Phong called. Okay. Van Han set a jar aside and handed over a rope end. When I count 1, 2, 3, we pull together. So Phong said, taking the rope. Okay. Van Han stood behind and gripped the tail of the rope. 1, 2, 3, pull. He counted, leaned back, and stepped in retreat. Hurry up. Van Han pulled with all her strength, her fine face flushing. In the pit the upside-down boar rose slowly, and after a few minutes it lay on the ground in her gasps. NK books. Huff, huff, this boar must be over 200 gene, right? Van Han plopped down and panted. Not far off. So Phong also sat. And breathed, for he had used most of the force. Huff, huff. So Phong, it is so heavy, how do we haul it back? Van Han wondered. Dusk was near, and they needed to get the boar back to the hideout to process it. With his current fitness he could probably carry a boar of over 200 gene back to the cave. Are you joking with me? How can something that heavy be moved to the cave? Van Han stared in shock. So Phong stood, brushed mud from his pants, and said, try and we will know. In the live room the barrage went wild again. I didn't expect So Phong to show off strength, trying to impress the little lowly. Maybe So Phong is a strong man. With abs he must be strong. Silence. Let's carry it together, we can fetch the pig blood later. Van Han frowned and murmured, 2 people carrying will save strength. Let me try first, if not, then we talk. So Phong poked the girl's cheek lightly. He did not want delay, since the blood smell could draw beasts. All right, but do not show off, mind your waist. Van Han pouted with worry. Okay. So Phong smiled, went to the boar, and tied the 2 forehooves. He bent, one hand on a hind hoof and one on a forehoof, and with a burst he hoisted it onto his shoulder. It is truly unusually heavy, he said in a deep voice, his back forced into a bend. Put it down now, it will crush you flat. Van Han worriedly supported the boar's shoulder to share the weight. Chapter 157, It Will Crush You Ugly. He turned back and said to the girl behind, Van Han, let go, I am fine. The boar weighed exactly the current limit of his body. If heavier by a few pounds he could not bear it, unless the body was strengthened again. No, it will crush you ugly. Van Han stubbornly replied. It is fine, let me try. So Phong walked with steady steps. After a few paces he turned slowly and said, I can do it myself, do not worry. Really? Van Han stared blankly at him, shocked by his strength, but still uneasy, could not help but remind again, you must not show off. I know, come up quickly, it is not early anymore. So Phong bent down and called. 537. Okay. Van Han quickly picked up 2 clay jars from the ground and held them up with effort. So Phong carried the boar, stepping heavily out of the forest, sometimes carefully avoiding branches not to hit the boar's back. Van Han carried the jars behind, looking at his thin back, and suddenly felt sour in her heart. Since childhood it was almost always him taking care of her. Of course not. Van Han pretended to be proud, but her eyes were sour. So Phong curved his lips and quickened toward the camp. After more than 20 minutes, they finally left the forest. So Phong, we arrived, put the boar by the water ditch. Van Han sighed. She put the jars down, then stood up to help him lower the boar. Hoo-hoo. So Phong sat on the ground, one hand on the boar, panting, "This one is really heavy." Van Han ran to the hideout, brought peppermint water, handed it over, "Drink quickly, rest a bit." Clatter clatter. So Phong drank it in a few gulps, sighed, "Before it gets dark, we must handle the boar first." "Then rest first, I will do it," Van Han urged. She once saw Uncle Wang bring a small boar back. She watched the whole slaughter. Before he spoke, she already grabbed the chopping knife and went. "Ha ha." So Phong watched her struggle cutting the thick skin, laughed. "The skin is too thick." Seeing his smile, she got angry. "With this chopper it cannot cut. Too blunt, must sharpen." He took the knife, sharpened on stone, said, "Now it should be better." "Really?" She tried again, indeed much better. "Good, let me cut, you bring meat inside, must finish before dark." He took the knife again, chopped fast, severing pig feet. With her speed, even till dark she could not finish, and the blood would lure beasts. He split the boar's head, told her, "Bring a cauldron for the meat." She washed a cauldron half full of water. Van Han carried it, saw him take out the brain. "Pig brain is good stuff." He dropped it in. She washed the organs, murmured, "Lungs can be boiled with lemon. Lungs give protein, calcium, zinc, vitamin B, good for weak lungs and cough. The belly is big, if only we had chicken, make belly soup. The heart too, also intestines, liver, dried gut for sausage." Hearing her talk, his lips curled, hands moved faster. After half an hour, all parts were processed, only inedible left. She washed and stored them, he carried them in. Even bones kept for soup. While still light, they quickly bathed. "So Phong, come quickly, it is dark." Her voice called. "Coming." He stepped in, closed door with thorn and wood. Outside it was dark, smell of blood would draw beasts. "Let us eat organs first, meat we smoke." She stirred pot. "Okay, you arrange it." He nodded. "Add salt." She murmured, opening the bamboo tube, then paused. "So Phong, no matches, how to preserve meat?" She worried. "Tomorrow we must go to the sea to get salt." He sighed, tomorrow's trip was inevitable. He pondered, then said, "I will reinforce the hut, cut meat small and smoke, it will not spoil." He took down venison, smoked fish, sausages, put into dry jars, all were already smoked, could be stored long. Chapter 158, Handling the Wild Boar. So Phong held the rope, carefully tied the joints of the wooden hut, and added 2 wooden stakes on both sides for reinforcement. This was to prevent the hut from collapsing when hanging the boar meat, since after removing bones and organs, the boar still weighed more than 100 pounds. "So Phong, this meat will last us for a long time." Van Han tied the meat securely with rope and hung it inside the hut. "Yes, so you do not need to save too much, once we finish we can hunt again." So Phong smiled, feeling much more at ease with the meat stored. With food piling up, he could now focus on building the new shelter without worrying about meals. Van Han nodded, but her frugal nature built since childhood was hard to change. "Use the fat to make oil, we can cook and fry with it." So Phong suggested. Fat could be rendered into oil, making meals tastier and improving their food. "Then let us eat first, once done we will use the pot for the fat." Van Han smiled, the pot of mixed boar soup was ready. "All right." So Phong sat down on the wooden chair. Van Han poured him a full bowl and said, "Taste it quickly, how is the flavor?" He lifted the bowl, picked a piece of blood curd with chopsticks, and chewed. After swallowing, So Phong raised his thumb in praise, "Very good, delicious." "Then eat more, there are lungs and heart too, taste them all." Van Han laughed happily, adding more meat into his bowl. "You must eat too, if cooked too long it will not taste good." So Phong urged, the iron pot still burned over the coals. "All right." Van Han ate a piece of lung. "The rest is yours." So Phong scooped another bowl. Today the boar innards filled a whole pot. MHM. Her mouth full, Van Han mumbled, "There is still much, eat more first, then I will have some." In the live room, many viewers were envious. "I have blood curd here, do you need to eat?" "Only 20 years old, with a pretty face." "No, I am going out now, brothers wait for me." Luckily I ordered blood luck feathers in time. After more than half an hour, they finished the whole pot while chatting. "So full." Van Han rubbed her belly with satisfaction. "Then rest, I will render the fat." So Phong washed the pot and hung it back. She sat nearby, watching him skillfully wash the cutting board, then chop the fat into chunks and throw them into the pot. Bang! Bang! The hot bottom touched the fat, sizzling loudly, oil splashing. "Sit farther away, hot oil will blister." So Phong warned. "All right." Van Han moved back, still a little scared of the oil. At the orphanage, fat rendering often splashed onto bodies causing burns and scars. Out here with no medicine, only cold water could cool burns, still leaving blisters. "Good, let it cook slowly." So Phong threw the last thick chunk into the pot. He stirred with a bamboo ladle, pressing fat to the bottom to heat evenly, speeding up rendering. Bang! Bang! The fat sizzled, oil filled the pot, the meat turned into residue. Wild boars had less fat than domestic pigs, half a pot of oil was already much. "Put the residue in the clay jar, it will keep long." Van Han carried the jar, "I will wash the board and axe." "All right." So Phong used chopsticks to move the residue into the jar, filling half. The hot oil would be poured later when cooled. The greasy board and axe cannot be cleaned, soap would help. Van Han scrubbed but still greasy. "Soap?" So Phong muttered, eyes brightening. He took another jar, poured water, added ash, and stirred. Van Han barely cleaned the tools, then asked, "What are you making?" "Secret, you will know tomorrow." So Phong smiled. "Oh, you again." Van Han pouted, stomping her foot. She wanted to pinch him. "Enough, clean up and get ready to sleep, otherwise later it will be noisy." So Phong urged. He worried wild beasts might come and disturb her rest. Van Han put away the tools and asked, "And you?" "You sleep first, I will guard the night." He wanted to watch the fire smoking the meat, since without it the meat would spoil quickly. "All right." Van Han replied gently. Chapter 159, A New Exploration. Early morning, the forest echoed with birdsong. So Phong opened his eyes, turning to the girl beside him. Van Han, as always, lay sprawled on him, a drop of saliva still at her lips. He smiled faintly, gently moved her aside, and slipped from the sleeping bag, dressed, and stepped outside. "Mark it," he ordered in his mind. A virtual screen appeared, number 18 glowing. After washing, he pushed the thorn gate aside and peered out. Van Han also came out, seeing his movement. She whispered, "So Phong, are they all gone?" She looked tired, clearly from poor sleep. Last night, growls outside the thorn wall kept her restless until he finished with the boar and returned to the bag. His eyes scanned, finding no beasts, he sighed, "It is fine, they are gone." He checked the tracks, matching them to bears, red wolves, and big cats. Some thorns were pulled down, proof of beasts passing. "Then I will make breakfast." Relieved, she poured the lard into a clay jar. She carried the pot to fetch water, since their jar was empty. He looked into the ash water jar. After settling overnight, the top was clearer. If only we had bird eggs, he muttered, since eggs tested like water. He beckoned her, come closer, I will tell you. Thinking he meant to whisper, she stepped near. Ha ha ha, that tickles, stop it, she laughed, bending away. He chased, laughing, then tell me where the eggs are. Ha ha ha. Blushing, she stammered, on the road to the beach, stop it. They played until he let go, letting her catch her breath. Flushed, she fixed her clothes, pouting, you are mean. He chuckled, after breakfast, we go to the beach, before noon heat. Half an hour later, they ate and packed. Her basket held rope and pot, ready for salt. He closed the thorn gate, axe in hand, alert for beasts still nearby. She followed close, wary too. After more than half an hour, they reached the spot with the nest, near a salty pool. Where are the eggs? He asked, cutting branches. She recalled seeing a nest last time, birds flying out. It should be near, let me find. She poked bushes with a stick, avoiding snakes. He too searched, then saw a clump high on a tree. He pointed, Van Han, is that the nest? She looked up, frowning, maybe, I am not sure. I will climb. He put down the basket, climbed the trunk. The nest was 3 meters high, only climbing would work. In the orphanage, he often climbed for eggs, scolded by the matron. She called, be careful, So Phong. Are there eggs? She asked eagerly. Look at this, he pulled out a thumb-sized egg. So small, not even a bite, she sighed. Not for eating, it has other uses. He wrapped it in grass, put it in the basket. Always taking extra, she pouted. He slung the basket, led her toward the beach. The salty pool plan could wait, today was for salt. After 20 minutes, trees thinned. The sound of waves filled their ears, the shore ahead. Minutes later, they reached the sand. Shall we go over there, maybe a bigger beach? She inhaled the sea breeze, pointing left. They had only scouted nearby before. He thought, then said, yes, while the sun is soft, we can check, maybe find something new. Chapter 160, a bit strange. Van Han, drink more water, be careful not to get heatstroke. So Phong took a bamboo tube from the basket and handed it to the young girl. Clack clack clack. Van Han wiped the sweat on her forehead, took the tube, drank a few sips, then returned it, gently saying, you should drink more too. The two continued forward, the path was filled with trees, nothing new appeared. More than 20 minutes later. So Phong, look over there, is that a beach? Van Han exclaimed in surprise. The girl suddenly jumped with joy, pointing far ahead where a golden strip appeared on the shore. Come on, let's go check. So Phong strode quickly. So Phong, are those coconut trees? Van Han's bright eyes sparkled at the sight of the lush grove by the coast. Yes, coconuts, this trip is worth it. So Phong smiled, thinking soon he would drink coconut water. Let's take that way, the slope is lower there. Van Han pointed to a winding path down. All right, today we will collect salt down there, then later drag bamboo back from the other beach. So Phong licked his lips at the thought of coconuts. They reached the slope, carefully stepping over rocks to descend. Let's sit over there, it is shady. Van Han looked toward the nearby coconut grove. Sweat hung on her nose, her delicate face flushed under the sun. Hurry, the sun is too harsh. So Phong glanced up at the blazing sky, worried the girl might faint. They hurried into the grove, hiding under the shade and sighing in relief. So Phong, so many coconuts. Van Han exclaimed excitedly, seeing dozens of large and small fruits above. Let's boil the salt first, then we can drink coconuts. So Phong stacked rocks into a stove. Okay. Van Han eagerly carried the iron pot, fetched half a pot of seawater. She placed the pot on the stove, starting to boil, planning to make more salt since they still had much boar meat unsalted. Van Han, mind the fire, I will climb for coconuts. So Phong strapped the chopping knife at his waist. Climb carefully, Van Han reminded, her eyes filled with expectation. Got it. So Phong nodded, approached a trunk, and checked the roots. Many fallen coconuts were cracked, some split, flesh gone. He muttered, a bit strange. Coconut palms usually grow 15 to 30 meters tall, a fall could be fatal. Without hesitation, So Phong tied ropes around his feet and trunk, climbing like the harvesters on television. Van Han fed the fire with husks, watching anxiously as he climbed higher, calling again, So Phong, be careful. We will drink fresh coconut soon. His cheerful voice came down. He saw just a few meters left. After a few minutes, he reached the top. The girl nervously glanced between him and the boiling pot. Van Han, move aside, I will drop them down. So Phong shouted, his hand already reaching. All right. She stepped back to the fire. So Phong drew the knife, one hand holding the trunk, the other chopping the stems. Bang bang bang. Heavy sounds rang out, for coconuts fell and rolled on the sand. Coconuts are here. Van Han's face lit up, she rushed forward. Wait, let me cut more. So Phong shouted, wanting to gather more. Bang bang bang. More heavy sounds, 6 or 7 fell. So Phong, enough, come down carefully. She urged. All right. He replied, slowly climbing down. Minutes later he landed, sat down, untying the rope. Do your feet hurt, were they squeezed tight? Van Han asked worriedly, touching his feet, eyes scanning him. So Phong stood, laughed, no problem, I am fine. She gathered coconuts, saying, these are big, I wonder if they are sweet. Let's try. He squatted, chopping at one. After a few strikes, he broke it open, water flowed out. Van Han drank a few sips, her eyes shining, clicking her tongue, not bad at all, fresh and sweet.